Your grandmother is not some retired school teacher. She built the AI education system that made me a billionaire, and you just banned her from the school she funded. Principal Morrison held up the restraining paperwork my daughter-in-law Brittany had filed, while behind her, a bronze plaque read Elena Martinez Educational Innovation Center. But what made Brittany collapse into a chair wasn't the plaque or my name. It was seeing her boss, the CEO of the tech company where she worked, walk in and call me Mom. The confrontation had started 20 minutes earlier in the elementary school's main office. I'd arrived for my weekly volunteer reading session with the second graders, something I'd done quietly for 3 years, when the secretary, Mrs. Chen, looked up apologetically. Professor Martinez, I'm so sorry, but there's been a situation. Before she could explain, Brittany burst through the doors, designer heels clicking on the linoleum like an angry typewriter. There she is. Keep her away from my son. Brittany? I set down the stack of books I'd brought, early readers about science and discovery. What's wrong? Don't play innocent. I know what you're doing. Filling Lucas's head with your outdated ideas, trying to turn him against modern education. He came home talking about grandma's coding games and quantum physics for kids. You're confusing him. Principal Morrison emerged from her office, and her expression made my stomach sink. She was holding official-looking papers. Mrs. Martinez has filed a formal complaint, she said carefully. She's requesting that you be removed from the volunteer list and banned from contact with Lucas during school hours. Banned? I stared at my daughter-in-law. I read stories to children. I help with their STEM projects. Exactly. Brittany's voice pitched higher. Lucas doesn't need your ancient teaching methods. We're raising him with proper modern techniques, tablets, educational apps, structured learning. Not some grandmother's fairy tales about computers and science. Ancient teaching methods. I'd almost laughed. Brittany, I developed. I don't care what you did 40 years ago. This is 2024. Education has evolved past whatever you think you know. Mrs. Chen and Principal Morrison exchanged glances I couldn't read. Several teachers had gathered in the hallway, drawn by the commotion. Furthermore, Brittany continued, pulling out her phone, I've documented everything. Your visits, your interference. My lawyer says I have grounds for a restraining order if necessary. A restraining order? Against his grandmother. You're not his grandmother. You're Marcus's stepmother. No biological relation. And since Marcus refuses to see the harm you're doing, I have to protect my son. That stung. I'd married Marcus's father when Marcus was 15 after his mother passed away. I'd never tried to replace her, but I'd loved him like my own. When he'd married Brittany 5 years ago, I'd welcomed her warmly despite her obvious disdain for what she called my hobby career in education. Mrs. Martinez, Principal Morrison's voice was strange, almost amused. Perhaps you should know. I know all I need to know, Brittany cut her off. This woman has no business influencing young minds. She's probably not even qualified. What was it you used to do again? Computer programming, in the 80s? How irrelevant can you get? The gathered teachers made small sounds. Gasps, cleared throats, one poorly suppressed laugh. Mr. Rodriguez, the computer science teacher, actually put his head in his hands. Brittany, I tried once more. I think there's been a misunderstanding. The only misunderstanding is you thinking you have any right to my child's education. Principal Morrison, I want her banned. Immediately. If I find out she's been within 50 feet of Lucas. Ma'am, Principal Morrison held up the papers. I'll certainly file your complaint, but I should inform you that banning Professor Martinez from this school would be complicated. Complicated? How? She's just a volunteer. That's when Principal Morrison smiled, the kind of smile that suggested she'd been waiting for this moment. Mrs. Martinez, are you aware that this building is named the Elena Martinez Educational Innovation Center? Brittany froze. That's a coincidence. Common name. Is it? The principal walked to the wall and gestured to the bronze plaque I'd insisted be kept small and discreet. Professor Elena Martinez, PhD pioneer in AI-assisted education, founder of Martinez Tech Learning Systems, donor of this building and founder of our STEM program. I watched the color drain from Brittany's face as she read the plaque, then looked at me, then back at the plaque. That's you? Surprise, I said quietly. But Principal Morrison wasn't done. Professor Martinez's educational software is used in 47 countries. Her adaptive learning algorithms have helped millions of children. The coding games Lucas loves? She invented those. The quantum physics concepts he's excited about. Part of her early childhood STEM curriculum that we pilot here. But she's just, Brittany stammered. Just what? A new voice came from the doorway. Just the woman who revolutionized how children learn. We all turned. A woman in an expensive suit stood there, looking amused and irritated in equal measure. Brittany went even paler. Ms. Davidson, what are you doing here? Samantha Davidson, CEO of NextGen Technologies, where Brittany worked as a mid-level marketing manager, walked into the office. I was coming for the quarterly board meeting. This school partners with us on the AI education initiative. She looked at me with obvious affection. Hello, Mom. Sam, I smiled despite the situation. I didn't know you were coming today. Mom, Brittany's voice cracked. Stepmother, technically, Sam clarified, but she's been mom since I was 12. Raised me after my mother died. Paid for my education. Mentored me. Helped me build NextGen from a startup to a billion-dollar company. She turned to Brittany with the kind of smile that made board members nervous. Imagine my surprise when security footage from the lobby showed my employees screaming at my mother about being unqualified to teach children. The same woman whose educational theories I built my company on. I couldn't have known. Really? Sam pulled out her phone. Because your LinkedIn says you work in our EdTech division. You sat through presentations about the Martinez method. Your last performance review praised your campaign for our Learn Like Luna app, which Mom created the framework for in 1987. Brittany sank into a chair, her legs apparently unable to support her anymore. But wait, Sam continued, clearly enjoying herself, there's more. Mrs. Chen, could you pull up Lucas Martinez's file? The secretary typed quickly, here it is. Admitted on full scholarship, funded by the Martinez Foundation. The Martinez Foundation, Sam repeated, which pays full tuition for promising students whose parents can't afford our advanced STEM program. Brittany, didn't you tell everyone at the office that Lucas got in purely on merit? He did. We didn't apply for aid. No, I said quietly. You didn't. But the school's AI assessment system, the one I designed, flagged Lucas as gifted in spatial reasoning and mathematics. The scholarship was automatically granted. I've been paying for his education since kindergarten. You? What? Principal Morrison pulled up more records. Professor Martinez also funds our after-school robotics club, the summer coding camp Lucas attended, and the new computer lab. She's been the primary benefactor of this school for 15 years. And she volunteers, Mr. Rodriguez added from the doorway, every week, reading to kids, teaching basic coding concepts, inspiring them. Do you know how many of our students have gone on to STEM careers because of her? I thought she was just some old woman with outdated ideas, Brittany whispered. No, Sam's voice turned cold. She's the old woman whose outdated ideas include the learning algorithm that powers half the educational apps on the market. The one whose patents funded this school. The one whose methods have been studied and implemented worldwide. She paused, letting it sink in. Also, she's the board chair's mother, my mother, your son's grandmother, and you just tried to ban her from a building with her name on it. I need to make a call, Sam continued, pulling out her phone. Marcus? Yeah, it's Sam. You need to get to Lucas's school. Now. Brittany's here causing a scene. No, worse than that. She tried to ban Mom. I could hear my stepson's voice through the phone, loud and angry. Brittany shrank further into her chair. While we waited for Marcus, Principal Morrison took charge. Mrs. Martinez, Brittany, not Professor Martinez, your complaint will be filed as received. However, I should note that Professor Martinez has undergone extensive background checks, holds current teaching credentials in 3 states, and is probably the most qualified person to ever volunteer at this school. She's published over 200 papers on childhood education, Mr. Rodriguez added helpfully. Her book on AI-assisted learning is required reading in my master's program. The coding games she created are used by NASA to train young programmers, Mrs. Chen chimed in. Each fact was another nail in the coffin of Brittany's superiority complex. She'd spent 3 years dismissing me as a doddering old woman playing teacher. never bothering to Google my name or ask what I'd done before retirement. Marcus arrived in 20 minutes, still in his surgical scrubs. My stepson was a pediatric surgeon, following in his father's footsteps. He took in the scene, his wife hunched in a chair, his sister standing like an avenging angel, me surrounded by supportive school staff, and the bronze plaque on the wall. "Someone explain, now." Sam started, but I raised my hand. "Your wife is trying to protect Lucas. She believes my teaching methods are harmful and wants me banned from his school." "Your teaching methods?" Marcus looked at Brittany incredulously. "The teaching methods that every major university studies? The woman MIT gave an honorary doctorate to last year." "You went to MIT." Brittany looked at me. "You said you were visiting friends." "I was, they just happened to be honoring me at the same time." "Mom doesn't brag," Marcus said quietly. "That's why I never pushed it when you ignored her accomplishments. I figured you'd learn eventually, but trying to ban her from the school she built." "I didn't know she built it." "Because you never asked. 3 years of family dinners and you never once asked about her career. Just assumed she was some hobbyist who got lucky with a few programs." "She never said." "What was I supposed to say?" I interrupted gently. "Pass the potatoes, and by the way, I revolutionized educational technology." "That's not dinner conversation." "It is when your daughter-in-law keeps calling you irrelevant," Sam snapped. Principal Morrison cleared her throat. "Perhaps we should discuss Lucas. He's a remarkable child, gifted in mathematics and showing unusual aptitude for abstract thinking. Much of that comes from early exposure to complex concepts presented in age-appropriate ways. The methods Professor Martinez uses." "He comes home so excited after Grandma's visits," Mrs. Chen added. "Last week, he explained binary code to his entire class using cookies." "That was my grandmother's technique," I said, smiling at the memory. "She taught me programming using household objects in 1962. I just refined it." "Lucas is thriving," Principal Morrison continued. "His test scores are exceptional. His creativity is off the charts. His problem-solving skills are years ahead. If anything, Professor Martinez's influence has been overwhelmingly positive." Brittany started crying. Not dramatic tears, but the quiet kind that come with genuine shame. I thought she was holding him back, making him weird. The other moms at yoga said kids need structure, not fantasy stories about computers thinking. "Those weren't fantasies," I said. "They were simplified explanations of neural networks. Lucas understood them perfectly." "Of course he did." Marcus sat beside his wife. "He's got Mom's brain for patterns. Dad used to say she could see code in everything: music, art, nature. Lucas has that same gift." "I've ruined everything," Brittany whispered. "My son's grandmother is a genius, and I tried to get a restraining order against her." "Not a genius," I corrected. "Just a teacher who loves learning, and you haven't ruined anything. You're a mother protecting her child. I respect that, even if the execution was flawed." Sam snorted. "Mom, she literally tried to ban you from your own building." From her perspective, I was a threat to Lucas's development. She was wrong, but her intentions came from love. I moved to sit beside Brittany. "I should have been more forthcoming about my background. I assumed Marcus had told you." "I told her you worked in computers," Marcus admitted. "I didn't mention the patents, the companies, the awards. Mom, you know how you are about recognition." It was true. My late husband had always been the public face of our work while I preferred the lab. After he died, I'd retreated further from the spotlight, content to teach and volunteer and watch my ideas shape the future from the sidelines. "Lucas talks about you constantly," Brittany said suddenly. "Grandma this, grandma that." I was jealous. "My parents live in France. They see him once a year. You see him every week and he adores you." "He adores you too. He tells me about your bedtime stories, how you do all the voices, how you learned Python to help with his homework." "You know I'm learning Python." "Lucas is very proud. He says you're getting quite good." "I'm using your tutorial program," she admitted, "from 1995. It's still the clearest explanation I've found." "That's because Mom believes in teaching concepts, not just syntax," Sam said, her anger softening slightly. "Same reason her kindergarten coding games work. They teach thinking, not just typing." Principal Morrison stood. "I believe we can consider this matter resolved." Professor Martinez remains an approved volunteer, Mrs. Martinez withdraws her complaint, and perhaps we all move forward with better communication. Brittany nodded quickly. Yes. God, yes. I'm so sorry. Don't apologize to me, I said. Apologize to Lucas. He was excited to show me his robot today. He'll be disappointed if Grandma misses it. You still want to see him, after what I did? Of course. He's my grandson. A piece of paper doesn't change that. Marcus helped Brittany stand. Come on. Lucas is in the makerspace. Mom, you coming? In a moment. I waited until they left, then turned to Sam. That was a bit theatrical, dear. She grinned. You're too nice. Someone needed to defend you properly. Besides, did you see her face when she realized she'd been using your programs while calling you irrelevant? She's young, she'll learn. She's 32, Mom. Not that young. Everyone's young when you're 78, I said, gathering my books. Are you really here for a board meeting? That and to see you. I know you've been hiding how much Brittany's dismissal hurt. I sighed. She knew me too well. It did sting. Being treated like a doddering old fool when I spent my life advancing education. You could have told her. Shown her the Nobel nomination letter, the Presidential Medal of Technology. The titles and awards don't make someone a good grandmother. Being present does. Reading stories does. Teaching a child to think does. I smiled. Besides, humility is a better teacher than pride. We walked to the makerspace where I could hear Lucas's excited voice explaining his robot's functions. Through the window, I saw Brittany kneeling beside him, actually listening instead of checking her phone. Grandma, Lucas spotted me and ran over. Look. I made it follow lines using the sensor you taught me about. Show me everything, I said, settling beside him. Every wire, every connection. As he explained his creation, Brittany watched us with something like wonder. Later, she'd tell me she finally understood. I wasn't teaching Lucas to code. I was teaching him to question, to explore, to believe that problems had solutions if you looked hard enough. That's all I'd ever done, really. From my grandmother's kitchen table in 1962 to MIT's lecture halls to this elementary school makerspace, the mission remained the same. Show children that the world is full of patterns waiting to be discovered, problems waiting to be solved, wonders waiting to be created. The bronze plaque on the wall didn't mention that. It listed achievements, donations, innovations. But it missed the only title that mattered, teacher. Or, as Lucas called me with pure 7-year-old joy, Grandma, the coolest person in the whole world. No algorithm I'd ever written brought me more satisfaction than that.